The Faculty of Law, Social and Political Sciences, Universitas Terbuka. It's been a great honor for me to be standing here and welcome to each of you at UTCC Universitas Terbuka, Indonesia. Ladies and gentlemen, this conference will provide you plenty of opportunities to discuss and share knowledge and insight related to the conference's theme, that is, democracy and public accountability in digital era. It is an effort to explore the dynamics of social and political challenges in democracy to the rapid development of information and communication technology towards a digital era. Before we proceed the program today, we would like to express our sincere gratitude to Excellency Director of Universitas Terbuka, represented by the Vice Rector for Finance and General Affairs, Dr. Andes Muhammad Muzammil MM. Excellency, the Dean of Faculty of Law, Political and Social Sciences, Dr. Sofjan Arifin, MSc. We also would like to express our sincere gratitude to Excellency guest speakers, Professor Grace Xavier Alfonso from University of the Philippines Open University, UPOU. Professor Eko Prasodjo, the Dean of Faculty of Administration, Sciences, Universitas Indonesia, UI. Dr. Lim Tai Wei from Singapore University of Social Sciences, SUSS. Professor Hanif Nurholis, Ketua Asosiasi Ilmuwan Administrasi Negara, ASEAN. Excellency, distinguished invitation guests, presenters, and participants. Ladies and gentlemen, now we will describe to you about K3, Kesehatan, Keselamatan Kerja. Emergency induction. Evacuation facilities. Evacuation facilities are made to facilitate people to evacuate. UTCC's emergency facilities. The building is equipped with portable fire extinguishers and hydrant equipment. In case of an emergency, stay calm, not panic, and immediately get out of the room. There are 2 available exitways at the front and at the rear. Assembly points are available outside the building. Toilets are available on the right and the left outside the lobby. Praying room is available in the right wing lobby. Thank you. Well, ladies and gentlemen, may I have your attention, please? Our opening ceremony. Ladies and gentlemen, before we start, we invite you all to stand up for singing the Indonesian Anthem and Hymn Universitas Terbuka. Please rise for the Indonesian Anthem. Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated. Ladies and gentlemen, we would like to praise the Almighty God for His blessing that we are able to attend this seminar. Let us pray, led by Muhammad Firman Karim, ASOS MSE.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Best wishes for all of us, ladies and gentlemen, let us pray according to each other's beliefs, but allow me to lead prayers according to Islam. A'udzubillahi minasyaitonirrajim, bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Hamda sakin, hamda naimin, hamda yu'afi ni'amahu, wa yukafi mazidah. Ya Rabbana lakal hamdu kama yambaghi li jalali wajhikal karimi wa azimi sultanik. Allahumma sholli wa sallim ala sayyidina Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajmain. Asyhadu an la ilaha illallah wa asyhadu anna Muhammadar Rasulullah. Ya Malikul, Ya Kudus, Ya Rahman, Ya Rahim. Ya Rabb, today we gathered here at the International Seminar Theme, Democracy and Public Accountability in Digital Era, launch our event be blessed. Ya Allah, make this international conference as a useful science assembly, as a medium of sharing useful ideas, knowledge, and experiences of scholars, researchers, and students of various disciplines. Ya Allah, may the conference we organize today benefit to our lives, broaden our knowledge, shine our ideas, and let us to be successful, productive persons, which in turn will boost dignity of our nation. Ya Allah, guide and bless our hearts and our minds with the light of your guidance, impart your supreme wisdom upon our activities, help us to speak our minds clearly, help us to listen to each other, respect each other, love each other, so what we are included to the blessed persons. Ya Allah, protect us from unintended temptation, show us the right path and give us knowledge and strength to perform good things equally, show us and make it clear the bad things and give us knowledge and strength to avoid them. Ya Allah, fill this meeting with kindness from beginning to end. Ya Allah, you are the one who can fulfill our prayer. Rabbi sholli sodri wa yassirli amri walul uqdatam min lisani yafqahu qawli. Allahumma arinal haqqa haqqa warzuqna tiba'ah wa arinal batila batila warzuqna tiba'ah. Rabbana atina fid dunya hasanah wa fil akhirati hasanah wa qina azabannar. Wa sallallahu Muhammadin wa alihi washabi ajmain. Subhana rabbika rabbil izzati amma yasifun wa salamun al mursalin walhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you for Mr. Firman. Please be seated. Ladies and gentlemen, to begin the opening ceremony today, here is the speech from the Chief of the Organizing Committee of this conference, Dr. Siti Aisyah.
To honorable seminar guest speakers, Professor Grace Javier Alfonso, Professor Eko Prasodjo, and Dr. Lim Tai Wei, distinguished guests, vice rectors, deans, and chairperson of institution at Universitas Terbuka, presenter, and seminar participants. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Best wishes for all of us. First of all, I would like to invite all of you to thank God for His blessing, become of His blessing and grace. We can attend and participate in the 2019 Open Society Conference organized by the Faculty of Law, Social and Political Sciences of FISIP Universitas Terbuka, where for the second time, FISIP Universitas Terbuka organized an international conference. The theme of this year's conference is Democracy and Public Accountability in Digital Era. It is an effort to explore a society based on democracy and public accountability in the digital era. This theme is only expected to bring great benefit, but pose many challenges for the society in digital era. This conference is our manifestation of responsibility as academic community as well. The theme of this year's conference was raised to respond the dynamic of social and political challenges in democracy to the rapid development of information and communication technology toward digital era. For this reason, the second Open Society Conference agenda focus on 7 subtema, namely, first, beyond democracy in digital era; second, public accountability; third, government and public services; fourth, digital literacy; fifth, law, society and language; sixth, socio-entrepreneurship, and the last, collaborative government. Ladies and gentlemen, in order to draw ideas and talk on effort to see democracy and public accountability in digital era, we invite the participants of seminar guest speakers, academic researchers, and practitioners from various scientific and institutional background. The number of presenters in this conference is 123 titles. Participating universities and institutions cover university from abroad, namely the University of the Philippine Open University and University of San Carlos, and also 41 universities from Indonesia, namely Universitas Erlangga, Universitas Brawijaya, Universitas Gunadarma, Universitas Jenderal Sudirman, Universitas Riau, Universitas Islam Indragiri, Universitas Jember, Universitas Tidar, Universitas Sriwijaya, Universitas 17 Agustus 1945, Jakarta and Semarang, Universitas Budi Luhur, Universitas Negeri Jakarta, Setia Mataram, Setiami, Universitas Diponegoro, Universitas Slamet Riyadi Solo, Universitas Indrapasta PGRI Jakarta, Universitas Putra Indonesia, Universitas Informatika dan Bisnis Indonesia, Universitas Sumatera Utara, Universitas Atmajaya Yogyakarta, Universitas Islam Nusantara Bandung, Unisma Bekasi, Universitas Negeri Padang, Universitas Indonesia, Universitas Nasional, Universitas Muhammadiyah Bengkulu, Universitas 11 Maret Surakarta, Universitas Pertahanan Indonesia, Universitas Pajajaran, Universitas Nusa Cendana Kupang, Universitas Gajah Mada, Universitas Kristen Satya Wacana Salatiga, Institut Kesenian Jakarta, Universitas Halu Oleo Kendari, Institut Pemerintahan Dalam Negeri, Universitas Tarumanegara, Universitas Pelita Harapan, Universitas Udayana, Universitas Teguh Umar Melabuh, and also Universitas Terbuka, Politekes Jayapura, and 3 government institutions, namely Kepolisian Republik Indonesia, Dirjen Pajak, and Balai Litbang HHBK, and also Notaris Public Office. Finally, we express our highest appreciation. Billahi taufiq wal hidayah. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you for Dr. Siti Aisyah for her speech. Kindly please be seated. Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, we would like to invite to the podium to deliver his welcoming speech as the Dean of the Faculty of Law, Social and Political Sciences, Dr. Sofjan Arifin, MSc, and will proceed to deliver the conference book to the Vice Rector for Finance and General Affairs, Dr. Andes Muhammad Muzammil, MM. Please welcome Mr. Sofjan Arifin. Kindly please, Mr. Muhammad Muzammil to be seated first, and for Dr. Sofjan Arifin to give the welcoming speech. Thank you.
To honorable seminar speakers, Professor Grace Javier Alfonso, University of Philippines Open University, Professor Eko Prasodjo, Dean Faculty of Administration Science, Universitas Indonesia, and next, Dr. Lim Tai Wei, researcher, Singapore University of Social Science, and Honorable to Professor Atwi Suparman, thank you for coming here. Distinguished guests, Vice Rector, Dean and Chairperson of Indonesian Universitas Terbuka, Presenter and Seminar Participant, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, selamat pagi, salam sejahtera bagi kita semua. The first of all, I would like to invite all of you to thank God for His blessing. Because of His blessing and grace, we can attend and participate in the 2019 Open Society Conference. The development of democracy and information technology is very relevant to be selected as the theme of the conference. At present, political, social, economic rights are the realm of democracy, which is continuously being for of the welfare of humanity. The scope of democracy does not only cover the political dimensions, but also affect the economic, cultural, and social ones. In other hands, democracy has close relationship with public accountability. Government activities must be held public accountable. The branch of the information society in the form of cyberscope had diverted various community and government activities in the real world into various forms of artificial substitution, including the presentation of information, data, final statement, and relation between the state and citizen. This book is effective to contribute to constructive idea so as to make a more advanced society with a capacity to use technology and economy as one of the manifestations of the aspiration of nation toward and just and prosperous society. I thank it to the editor team of this book, cherished by Dr. Siti Aisyah, Master of Science. Without their hard work, this book could not have been completed. I would also like to extend my gratitude to the contributor of the article who have shared their thought and the idea and the form of articles so that they are able to share knowledge. As part of a commitment to encourage the realization of open education resources, this book adopted the Creative Commons attribution licenses that allow a reader to reuse, repurpose, and remix the relevant contents in this book. Finally, as part of the contribution of the Faculty of Law, Social Science, and Political Science for sustainability in a better community life, this book is effective and correct to the emergence of the new idea and future discourse, and to be able to contribute critical thinking to development democracy in the digital area. Thank you for all. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you for Mr. Sofjan for the speech, and please remain standing on the stage. Mr. Sofjan, please remain to standing on the stage. And we invite Dr. Andes Muhammad Muzammil MM to come forward for receiving the conference book from the Dean of the Faculty of Law, Social and Political Science. Please give a warm applause. Please give a warm applause. Okay, thank you. And for Mr. Muzammil, please remain on the stage. And Mr. Sofjan, please be seated. Ladies and gentlemen, the next speech will be delivered by the Vice Rector for Finance and General Affairs, Dr. Andes Muhammad Muzammil MM, and he will officially open the Open Society Conference 2019.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. First of all, I would like to extend an apology from our rector, who cannot be able to attend this seminar since he has to be an overseas for ICTE conference. And he has sent his best wishes for a very successful seminar. And then please allow me to deliver the opening remark. To honorable seminar key speakers, Professor Christopher Alfonso, thank you, from University of the Philippines Open University. Professor Dr. Eko Prasodjo, Dean of Fakultas Ilmu Administrasi Universitas Indonesia. Dr. Lim Tai Wee from Singapore University of Social Science. Distinguished guests, Vice Rector, Dean, Bapak Ati Suwarman, and Chairperson of Universitas Terbuka, presenters, and seminar participants. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, selamat pagi dan salam sejahtera untuk kita semua. First of all, I would like to invite all of you to thank God for His blessing. Because of His blessing and grace, we can attend and participate in the 2019 Open Society Conference organized by the Faculty of Law, Social and Political Sciences, Indonesia Open University, where for the second time, FISIP organized an international scale conference. It's also an honor that this conference will be followed with the 4th Congress of the Association of State Administration Scientists, which will discuss the opportunities and challenges of the science of state administration in the 4.0 revolution era. This is very relevant because the public administration study program is one of the study program that was affected by the Industrial Revolution 4.0. Ladies and gentlemen, the 2019 Open Society Conference takes the theme Democracy and Public Accountability in Digital Era. In my opinion, the theme of the conference is very relevant to the current because democracy has evolved. Democracy is not only interpreted as a rule of law, there are other dynamic aspects in applying the concept of democracy. In the digital era, political, social, and economic rights are parts of democracy which must be continually fought for the welfare of humanity. The principle of government for the people is one of the principles of democracy in addition to government of the people, and government by the people must be voiced continuously. The principle of government for the people relates to the public accountability. In principle, everything that is done by the government or not done by the government must be held accountable to citizens. Today, democracy broadens its scope in economic and social dimension. Modern countries regulate taxes, minimum wages, pension, public education, insurance, unemployment, and poverty. The state has a role in regulating such that the existence of the state is not disturbed by depression and economic crisis. Democracy also encourages the economic right of citizens to create entrepreneurship, which is currently developing not only limited to the economic field, but also extend to socio-entrepreneurship. In the current digital era, democracy and public accountability are supported by the presence of information society, which supported by the development of information technology. This creates a new space that is artificial and virtual, known as a cyberspace. Cyberspace has shifted various human activities in the real world into various forms of artificial substitution, including sociopreneurship, presentation of information, data, financial statement, and relation between the state and citizen. Ladies and gentlemen, the emergence of the digital era in the Industrial Revolution 4.0 will certainly change the social and political order, which if we don't anticipate, the impact can be detrimental. Society was unable to avoid the Industrial Revolution 4.0. Signs of the ongoing Industrial Revolution 4.0 are digitalization, artificial intelligence, and machine learning. This change will also seen clearly in robotic, three-dimensional printing presses, nanotechnology, and biotechnology. This disruptive change is not only about a technological change, but also how deep and fast the changes are. This change occurred because of the disruptive integration of knowledge and scientific discipline. Therefore, the governor needs to build awareness of all levels of society about the Industrial Revolution 4.0 and its impact on life, and educate the public in various ways. One way is to provide access to technology so that more people can enjoy the benefit of new technology standard. Today, information and communication technology is becoming constitutive of information society as expressed in the phrase, information is the source of life that sustain political, social, and business decision. Ladies and gentlemen, finally, in conclusion, I would like to invite the participants of the 2019 FISIP UT International Seminar to contribute constructive ideas on how to respond the challenges of democracy and public accountability in the digital era. Welcome to Open Society Conference and 4th Asian Congress. I hope the conference will be successful, well organized, and well implemented. Wabillahi taufiq wal hidayah. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you for Mr. Muhammad Mozammil for your speech. And please remain on the stage, and kindly please Mr. Sofjan Arifin to come to the stage to officially open the Open Society Conference. Ladies and gentlemen, let witness the official open for second Open Social Conference 2019 by the Vice Rector for Finance and General Affairs. Thank you for Mr. Muhammad Mozammil and Mr. Sofjan Arifin. Please be seated. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we come to the panel session who will lead by our moderator, Professor Daryono, SHMA, Ph.D. For Mr. Professor Daryono, please come to the stage. Please give a warm applause.
Thank you. An honorary guest, Professor Alvis Parman, thank you for coming. Vice Rector on Finance and for Information Systems, Pak Mozammil and Pak Adi, the deans, head of the institutions, and all of our colleagues, and particularly, especially for all of the distinguished speakers. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good mornings, and I'm very honored to convene the sessions. Then I would like to invite the two distinguished guests that will be sharing with us on this knowledgeable and for the important sessions. Professor Alfonso from the UPOU, please come to this stage. And another distinguished speaker will be Professor Eko Prasodjo. Ladies and gentlemen, the one speaker from the Singapore University of Social Science will be deliver his speech virtually, because unfortunately he is now in Japan and he is unable to come and present these sessions, and he apologized for unable to coming with all of members. However, I think we still have a chance to communicate with him via online. So there are two sessions in the plenary. The first sessions would be presentations by the distinguished speakers and the recorded video from Dr. Lim's. And the second session will be a QA, question and answer. So I think I would like to introduce our distinguished speaker today. Yeah, that one's the technology. Okay. Can you split? Okay, yeah. The first speaker, Professor Alfonso. I think our colleagues from the University of Terbuka will be very familiar with his name. Her name has been very famous in ASEAN Open University affairs. Professor Alfonso is a former Chancellor of the University of the Philippine Open University, and he served 3 terms. That's an excellent achievement, I think. Please give an applause to the Professor Alfonso. She is a Professor Emeritus in Film and Mass Communication at the UP, College of Mass Communications, and a Professor of Communication of the UPOU, Faculty of Information and Communication Studies. And now she is an Executive Director of UPTV, because she is an actress. You can see her, I think, the beautiful face still in her present now. Her research and extensions interests include open and distant e-learning, and he is also advocate of open learning, open educational resources, Professor Alfonso. The second speakers will be, the second speaker, Professor Eko, yeah. Professor Eko Prasodjo, and I think the Indonesian scholars are very familiar with his name. I think so. But for whom may not well know his backgrounds, I will give some of the hints that he is actually one of the youngest professor in Indonesia. Please give applause to Professor. Not anymore. And he was Professor Eko Prasodjo was awarded the professorship in 33rd, right? In the 33rd years old. So it's very young, professor. Even now, I think he looks very young too. Okay. Yeah. And Professor, I think back again, Professor Eko Prasodjo graduated from the, at the first degree, the bachelor in University of Indonesia, and the master and doctorate program from the Speyer postgraduate program for public administration in Germany. And I think he now, as you know, that's a dean of the Faculty of Public Administration Science. Is it right? Oh, Administrative Science. The dean of the Administrative Science. So the third one is Dr. Lee. Dr. Lim is the associate professor at the Singapore University of Social Science. He earned the undergraduate and master's degree from the National University of Singapore and finished her doctorate program from the Cornell University. And he will deliver his speech, recorded speech at the last sessions. Without further ado, I think I would like to invite Professor Alfonso to give a speech at the first time. Yeah.
Is it coming out? This is technology not functioning too well now. All right. Good morning, everyone. Thank you very much for inviting me here. Thank you, Dr. Daryono, for asking me to come. And I would like to say good morning once again to all our distinguished UT officials, Vice Rector, our Dean, and our other deans here. And I would like to say hello to, give my greetings to Dr. Supraman, who is really, he's going to receive his award, which is an international award in ICDE for his contribution to education worldwide. So maybe let's give him a big hand. Thank you. Thank you, Pautwi, for being here. And first, I would like to say I'll be talking about communication and education, and that it goes together in moving of ideas, concepts, and constructs, in helping expand democratic spaces that affect our everyday lives. I am with the National University in the Philippines, the University of the Philippines. Though fully funded by government, it sees itself as a strong democratic space. Since the university has its own charter, which means it is not under the supervision of the Commission on Higher Education, but works closely together in certain areas. The university is seen as the seat of academic freedom, and it's really known to stand for academic excellence, academic freedom, respect for cultural diversity, and an institution grounded on public service. Historically, University of the Philippines has always been a defender of democracy and against dictatorial forms of government. The high prices of commodities, poverty, and the lack of jobs, as seen in the years of 1971 and 1972, prior to the declaration of martial law, when students and faculty went outside in the streets and when there were threats of the police and the military entering the university, more protests rose, and there were barricades, and at the University of the Philippines at that point, it signaled that it is a space that carries the spirit of activism. These are, in front of you, sorry. These are footage from a documentary I just directed as part of the University of the Philippines, remembering those days, before the days of martial law. It was declared September 21, 1972. So last month, September 19, the documentary titled Lakad Gunita sa Pamantasang Hirang, a walk for remembering our beloved university, First Quarter Storm, and the Diliman Commune. It premiered in the University of the Philippines, Diliman, one of its campuses, and also on our internet TV, TVUP, as part of the university's remembering its past and what it stands for. What you see on screen is the University of the Philippines icon called the oblation, symbolic of offering oneself to God and country. This imposing figure is present in all UP campuses. It is with great pride that we say, you know, when we talk about the university, that we are scholars of our nation. Scholar ng bayan. Bayan is nation. And we do our work for public service, para sa bayan, and these are familiar phrases uttered by us who are with and affiliated with our university. Being with the University of the Philippines and UP Open University, I am a staunch supporter and believer of open education. Which brings us to a concern, therefore, of taking some steps to make sure that as the movement of openness is pursued in making new technologies work for us, we must ensure that our identities as a people, our culture, stays as distinct nations, are not endangered of being swallowed. This disruption of digital technology is changing the way we view things in the fields of communication and education as it goes digital, and how it can socially construct and redefine democracy. It is most important that we thicken the discourse on open society grounded on laws of our nations and the education and communication systems, since these are actually systems that are key and they are potent systems that are in place and have the power to lead our people to empower themselves to have better lives. In this talk, I shall focus on the merging movement, Web 5.0, Edu 5.0, and the IR 5.0. The Philippine experience in these digital times as it moves in widening access to communication and education, challenges and potentials for open societies, expanding democratic spaces in the digital world. Let me comment on these merging concepts that the whole world is theorizing and building scenarios about. The fifth generation of industrial revolution combination of cyber and the physical, the fifth generation of web, and that is the telepathic symbionet web, and the digital communication and media that goes with it, and the fifth generation of the education system, which is the Edu 5.0, where technology-mediated and technology-enhanced lifelong learning linked together, moving as one. We must steer it towards openness in higher education systems, using the affordances of the web as platform is most important today. Let me comment on these merging concepts, but let me now talk about first the fourth, fifth, these are the buzzwords of today. The fourth really started out in the forum, the World Forum, which happened in Davos, and that was 2016. And it's all about robotics, AI, nanotechnology, biotech, quantum computing, 3D printing, Internet of Things. We know all these terms, and they're all coming out all the time. And the concept of unimaginable accelerated changes. So when this was discussed initially, that was 2 years ago, more than 2 years ago. And the president of the World Economic Forum, Klaus Schwab himself, was explaining on the things happening so rapidly in private-public partnerships. And he's so disappointed, he says. In an interview in 2018, he was talking about the economy of the world being controlled by a few giant companies, the mega media companies and the mega e-commerce internet platforms. So he really sees the need to support the movement of social entrepreneurship to break the monopolies of giant corporations. Unprecedented technological disruptions, which brings to fore many challenges. But we can, however, create vast potential in strengthening open societies. In the midst of all these technologies and economics of things that we make, the tendency is for creating generic culture. So we don't want that. So let me go to the generations of the web. You remember Web 1.0, that's one way. So it's only read only. So that is Web 1.0. Web 2.0 is read, write, internet. So interacting, social media, blogs, and so on. Web 3.0 is called the semantic web, where machines standardizing the systems, linking data to create context. And Web 4.0, we're familiar with this, the Internet of Things, the symbiotic web. 24 hours, 24/7 connected, wearable devices, embedded sensors. It's really being developed and more developed now. Today, more than 1.7 billion websites, morphing into Web 5.0 called the telepathic web, or symbiotic web, or the intelligent web, with the ability to communicate with the internet through thought. So Tim Berners-Lee, the creator of World Wide Web, he was devastated. In one of his articles, he said that he regrets on the over misuse and abuse on and in the internet, the manipulation in other nations' elections, the massive fake news phenomena, cyber crimes, and scams. So what is therefore important? It is the proliferation of the web with well-researched and produced materials, and we have to claim our spaces through our scholars in the virtual world to provide direct access to them by our, to pinpoint specific audiences and for all those who want to access them. We have to do it to compete with the noise in the World Wide Web. Trillions, maybe quadrillions actually, of data and information are there. Now we go to the Discourse of Hadoop 5.0. It is more enthusiastic. The new humanity of this globally connected, technology-fueled world for lifelong learning has been, quite positive, but it has changed in configuration. Many have discussed it, but I took Peter Fisk as analyzing it, crystallizing some thoughts about this. So he said it's self-paced, e-learning tools, flipped classroom, tools that adapt to student capabilities, tools that students are familiar with, freelance economy, applying skills in shorter terms to a variety of situations. The courses are getting shorter. Computers for statistical analysis to predict future needs. And learning is best tested when learners work on projects in the field instead of using Q&A as assessment. And so we also see the independence of the students and doing their own curricula. Many say, and also in a lot of conferences, example, 2018 University of UK, today's trends identified, teaching transformed, personalized adaptive learning, assessment reimagined, and intelligent digital and physical estates, which means smart campuses. So there are talks also of the internet in our pocket, a shift in the education economy, and that rote memorization, standardization, regurgitation are obsolete, as ubiquitous technologies would have led an unprecedented wealth of information. Democratizing space, what does that mean? That means that anybody can comment on education and how we teach and learn. And the rise of the DIYers. These are the entrepreneurs, young entrepreneurs, and majority of them are millennials, and the majority of the millennials are freelancers. and only 13% would like to go to the corporate way. As we see the many changes occurring through digital disruptions in the fields of communication, education, and its role in economics of things, countries are approaching this in many ways. Example, the Minister of Higher and Tertiary Education in Zimbabwe, Africa, publicly declared a reconfiguring of their education system, tackling EDUC 5.0. The government is actively reviewing degrees offered by state universities, standardization of qualifications, and getting rid of irrelevant programs, and are creating idle graduates who do not have innovative skills. But of course, you know, the minister was explaining, and everybody was, saying that he said STEM is therefore not useful to his country. No matter how many STEM subjects we teach, with a wrong system design, industrialization would not happen. People, of course, reacted to this in many mixed ways, and he was probably a little misconstrued. He was really talking about improving the system design and the pedagogy, the ways of teaching and learning. He continues to say that it is now all about problem solving for value creation. The President of Pakistan, just 2 weeks ago, in the 33rd Asian Association of Open Universities in the annual conference in Lahore, some of you were there, I know, and it was hosted by the Virtual University of Pakistan. And the President, he did not sound like a politician there, but sounded like a well-informed academic. And the President of Pakistan declared that he has this all-out support for the focus of the use of technology in higher education. And of course, everybody applauded that, and we talked about all these that are listed down here as our topics, and we toured, and we were shown a battery of, in the Virtual University of Pakistan, a battery of green screen studios, post-production assembly of editors and graphic artists and animators professionally run for their digital productions of materials. And also, we have to describe the industry, EDUC 5.0 and IR 5.0, merging together the industry, the top priority investments in this race. There is this race for talents. And for all those talents who greatly use automation, robotics, and they feel that is for the greater productivity. So there is that great race for talents, and this concerns the universities to make themselves relevant in these digital times. They are reacting to this since companies are interested in talents in the following directions: data analytics, cloud-based systems, financial professionals, leadership and culture training, upskilling employees to embrace new technology to address associated risks. And so the many corporations are creating innovation teams in their corporations. So the merging of these still means, and we always hear that students must be honed to be innovative, creative, have critical thinking, and good communication skills, and can work in multicultural environment. But let us always be reminded that in optimizing the use of technologies, the people agenda is still top priority. So this catapults openness, pushing for more democratic practices. It has many forms in education. It can be openness in delivery modes, cost and affordability, strengthening digital literacies, and appropriate e-teaching and e-learning pedagogies. Also have emerging e-research paradigms, use new digital technologies, sharing resources, and linking to digital repositories, new ways of collaboration, partnerships, and networking, use the production of open educational resources, and we have MOOCs as OERs in the e-learning systems to be free and accessible to all. And openness has been espoused related to UN declaration that everyone has a right to education. Let's go to the democratic practices in the Philippines, in the Philippine experience in the digital era. First, let's talk about the Philippines. It is a republic, a presidential form of government where power is equally divided among its three branches: the executive, the legislative, and the judiciary. They cross-check each other, and the legislative makes laws, and the executive branch carries out laws, and the judicial branch evaluates laws. Each branch of government can change acts of the other branches. The president can veto laws passed by Congress. Congress confirms or rejects the president's appointments and can remove the president from office in exceptional circumstances. The justice of the Supreme Court, who can overturn unconstitutional laws, are appointed by the president and confirmed by the Senate. So, but the Supreme Court has the power of judicial review. So the Philippines is said to be a democracy. We are a democracy where its people decide, where Filipinos, even from all over the world, vote their representatives in the local and national levels to represent them in Congress and the executive branch. And it is said that our leaders always say, you know, when it's election time, our leaders would say that Filipino people is their boss, especially when elections, you know, this is so rampant, everybody says it on television and so on. And it is a framework. The powers of the majority are exercised with the framework of a representative democracy. But the Constitution limits the majority and protects the minority, usually through protecting certain individual rights, the rights of freedom of speech and the freedom of association, which are exercised by democratic nations. To uphold such freedoms in the Philippines, commissions separate from the executive branch were established. The Commission on Human Rights, which is an independent constitutional office created under the primary function of investigating all forms of human rights violations involving civil and political rights, and with a chairperson and 4 members, and the commissioners hold a term of office of 7 years, so more than the president's years of service, which is only 6 years. And we have the COMELEC, the Commission on Elections, a constitutional entity to guarantee credible elections, and the chairman and members of the commission have a fixed term of 9 years. And they can be removed from office only through impeachment. To guard also from government's abuse of authority, the establishment of the Office of the Ombudsman was enacted. It is an independent office enjoying fiscal autonomy. It is not a commission, but another constitutional entity insulated from political influence or interference. The manifestation of openness somehow can be read in laws meant to preserve the concept of democracy, as in the position of the chairmanships in these commissions that have set terms of office, going beyond the terms of the president. In the same way, there are laws that have addressed this area of openness and extending the democratic spaces and its widening of access in the fields of communication and education in this digital era. This would be the act of, when you see RA, it means Republic Act 9500. This is the UP Charter, the University of the Philippines as a national university. It is supposed to, it shall lead in setting academic standards and initiating innovations in teaching, research, and faculty development. So by law, it also has to serve as a graduate university, serve as a research university, and also lead as a public service university, and protect and promote the professional and economic rights and welfare, provide training and learning in leadership, responsible citizenship, and the development of democratic values, enhancement of nationalism and national identity. Also, to serve as a regional and global university, provide democratic governance based on collegiality, representation, accountability, transparency, and active participation, promoting the holding of fora as well. In February 1995, the University Board of Regents established the University of the Philippines Open University, pioneered in online teaching and learning. In 2007, went completely online and continues playing a leading role in the study and practice of open distance e-learning in the Philippines. Its mission is to provide Filipinos everywhere access to quality higher education. It continues to build a global community of learners, and today we are in more than 70 countries. Open Distance Learning Act is another law, the RA 10650 of 2016, the Commission on Higher Education, Technical Skills Development Authority, and the University of the Philippines Open University. They were all named, they are in this law, and they are tasked to implement the programs needed under this law to support the services and production of educational resources needed for the implementation of the law to institutionalize open distance learning in tertiary education in the Philippines. Most recently, the RA 10931, Universal Access to Quality Tertiary Education Act, passed into law, providing free tuition and exemption of other fees in tertiary education, in state universities and colleges, local universities and colleges in the Philippines. This then brings need for a greater call for openness in the use of technology-mediated education to help create a quality and equity healthy education environment. Another law just came in recently, the RA 114481, an act expanding to educational services, the establishment and administration of transnational higher education. And there's also the law recently created, creating the DICT Republic Act number 10844, an act creating the Department of Information and Communication Technology. It is in charge of planning, development, and promoting the country's information and communication, or ICT agenda. So, and also, not a law, but it is an executive order, number 2, the second executive order that was signed by our president, the transparency of information and open access to information. So this then brings the need for a greater call for openness in the use of digital communication formats for open education, MOOCs, OERs, digital repositories, ITV productions, and these are important resources that we now try to do and try to be good at. And it is a whole new university experience of technology-mediated education and technology-enhanced education for learners. And we try to make it work in the Philippines, getting us closer to what we are as a university. Our universities are for, I mentioned this before, academic freedom, pursuit of academic excellence, pursuit of new knowledge through research, public service, and for social justice. In other universities, and in our university, UP Open University, we are encouraged to design and produce our OERs, MOOCs as OERs, meaning for free, and on top of our regular online courses. The culture of sharing, so everything now are done for free because tertiary education now in the Philippines is free. So the university now has to make sure that technology works for it. And the culture of sharing is most important. It expands people among people networking and connectivity through open educational resources, OERs, MOOCs as OERs. It is seen today as ways of sharing. It seeks to capture spaces for those who have been silenced in the traditional education systems. So we have here our MOOCs, our OERs. We work with our experts, and our resource persons are mostly national artists, national scientists, professors emeritus, and leading scholars in their fields through UNESCO, Commission on Higher Education, UPOU, and the University of the Philippines system projects. We have the ICT OERs, the master class for teaching and learning, and we have MOOCs on business analytics, MOOCs on art and culture in ASEAN region as well. And this is a collaboration of 5 ASEAN universities, UT is one of them, which redefines contemporary academic partnerships and internationalization. Our Filipino scholars working together with ASEAN scholars in the different disciplines, creating a dynamic academic synergy. These are OERs that are used for art in ASEAN, so these are the title, we call them the opening billboard cards, I'm sorry. And so for ASEAN, art in ASEAN, for example, we produced more than 50 documentaries for one MOOC course, and seeing through the lens of our ASEAN partners on their distinct art and cultures, and the creation of a greater community of users and producers of OERs committed to share, disseminate, and promote their thoughts and scholarship of those who have greatly contributed to their disciplines through their research, creative work, and public service. So actually, our the TVUP carries a whole array of programs like short films, talks, interviews, panel discussion, documentaries, concerts, cultural shows, and many more. It has a search mode, so if you are researching in a certain field, just type in the topic or the name of the resource person. It is a multimedia production center, and it is a digital repository of open educational resources and a multimedia publication system. It emphasizes the production of materials by our scholars grounded on our experience and collaborations with regional and international scholars available and accessible en masse, nationally and internationally. So you just type in, maybe you can do that, just put down the sound, tvup.ph. It is also called sometimes as TV Up, that's the nickname. It started full production some 2 years ago. And today there are almost 400 OERs of video production. So let me then go to our, I'll leave you some thoughts on challenges and potentials for open societies, expanding democratic spaces in the digital environment. It seems that most of us theorizing see things in the economic perspective, but and also as producers of digitally skilled workers. So this is where I am ending my talk, which is we do need to make sure that though it looks like the liberal trade are equated to perpetuating democracy, however, governments and the industry need to be sensitive to the possible erasing of cultural identities and getting marginalized developing nations into simple market and suppliers of labor for dominant nation states. So it is so important that we look into this, we talk about it, we create thicker discourse on it, and we have to make sure that our students can have service to innovation centers, creativity centers, working closely with digital literacy centers, so that we can be talking about and understanding various numerous philosophies, ideologies, and values that perpetuated and strengthened and also analyze, scrutinize, and maybe sometimes question all these things happening now. So I would like to also let me share with you last 2 slides what's happened last week in Vigan, wherein this is an initiative that was done where university presidents, vice presidents, deans, directors, faculty, administrators of Philippine state universities were all together, and they grounded their discussion on RA 9500, RA 10650, RA 10931, and RA 1144. And there they declared that Education 6.0 and Education with a Soul, the culture of sharing, openness, inclusiveness, equity, and fairness, and respect for diversity. And they also launched an alliance of professors for humanity, Up for Hume Plus. So actually this is also an invitation to be part of that movement, and hopefully we can talk about this later on. And thank you very much for this opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Professor Alfonso. Okay. It's fine. I think we have learned about how the Philippine challenging and managing the democratic society and transitions, especially about the education sectors, access and how the opportunity of the educations. One of the trigger questions and inquiry would be, if now there are many millions of the high school graduates that need further educations, how should be the government react? So please clip your questions and any inquiries to yourself, and we are going to recall your questions after the sessions. And Professor Eko Prasodjo will be sharing with us now in regard to the Indonesian experience and how the democracy in Indonesia actually, whether it's creating a public good or it's something else, or it's something else. Okay, Prof. Eko Prasodjo, please welcome. Yes, yes, I think there is already in a, oh yeah. That one is and not that one. So I think you can have this that one for Ibu.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. So I think you can use this
Okay, thank you.
pointers.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, and pointing on the side.
Yeah, thank you very much, Professor Daryono. Distinguished speakers, honorable deans and management of Faculty of Law and Social Political Science, University of Open University of Indonesia. I would like to thanks first for inviting me to share and also to have discussion with you about the trend of digitalizations in governance and also in the education system. It is my honor to be here. Thank you very much also to Madam Alfonso for your very nice presentations, telling and sharing about the Philippines' experience on educations. Today I would like to present about the role and challenges of public administration in managing global megatrends and also new industrial revolution 4.0. So it is, I think there are two fundamental strategic environmental changing today and in the future. I think one is the globalizations 2.0 and the second is digitalizations. This is two drivers that we have to follow and also adapting our system and culture competencies facing the new trends in the new era of digital. Okay. So this is the structure of my presentation. So first I would like to explain about the global mega trends and its impact. Second is the challenges of public administrations, public governance. The third is new governance capabilities that we need to face these all mega trends and changes. And the fourth is conclusions. So distinguished speakers and participants, I think there are at least 5 or 6 mega trends until 2030. Sorry. One is globalization 2.0, as I mentioned before. So globalization 2.0 is characterized by shifting the economic development from west to east. So from Western countries like US and European countries to Asia countries like China, India, and also Indonesia. So China will play very important role in the development of economic. The second one is so-called digital era. So digitalization of system and also procedures. And this will open the participation of citizens in the governance, in the decision-making process. People always on. What government say, what government do can be tracked easily in the social media and the technology. So the participation of citizens will be increasing, and also the government should more transparent and accountable to the people. So the third is the environmental and energy crisis. This will drive potential war. So every countries look for new energy as source of life, I think. The fourth is technology convergence. So the convergence of advanced technology like nanotechnology, biotechnology, IT technology, and robotic technology. So in the very advanced and convergence technology, and this advanced technology will change our relations between state and society, and also amongst the society itself. The fifth is demographic change. It is characterized by aging populations. So in the future, the young generations will not marry and more like having a dog or cats rather than having children. So the population will more aging and aging, yeah, and it's difficult for young generations to cover all the needs and expectation of older people. And the sixth is individualism and also pluralisms. It's characterized by higher economy society, yeah, with higher expectations, with higher hopes and needs, yeah, so that it will be more difficult for governments to provide public services with higher expectation from the citizens. Sorry. This is at least main variables of the picture of governments. So with 6 global trends, it will influence the situation in the governments. So what happened is disruption in all sectors of life, as well as in education, transportation, health, housing, and so on. So strengthening using the artificial intelligence in policy making process, usage big data, more and more the partially data will be integrated in the system that can be easier for governments to identify specific problem with better solutions, I think. And also the interactions between state and society, and also among society itself with the online services, as also mentioned by Madam Alfonso before. So these main variables of future will influence the fast transformations of citizens' needs. So in the online services, the citizen will faster, cheaper, more accountable, and more transparent. So online and also on-time services to citizens. So I think there are also fundamental changes, as I mentioned before. There are, one is the global governance, so a comprehensive and complete globalizations. No one single country can make public policy by only having single authority in the national and also in the regional level. So this is so-called multi-level governance. So the single country has no single power to make policy or public policy and decisions. It will be also depend on the global policy like United Nations, regional organization like ASEAN Economic Community and so on. But also we are facing a paradox between globalization and decentralizations. One side, globalization needs fast response, responsive and adaptive public policy in the changing globalized society. In other sides, we face so-called fully autonomous and decentralizations of local governments. So we have to rethink the balance between globalization and also decentralizations, because decentralization will influence also the delay of policy making process in the national level. So I think we learned from 5 years development under the President of Jokowi, the national ministries and agencies could not effectively supervise, monitor the national strategic development program into the provincial and also into the local governments. So decentralized governments influence also the fast and integrated public policy making process. And it will be more difficult in decentralized governments with the multi-party system and the bad quality of bureaucracy. So this is the three difficulties that faced by the national governments, the current national governments. So in managing public service quality and globalized society in the decentralized governments with multi-party system and also the bad quality of bureaucracy. Sorry. The second fundamental changes is ICT development and disruption. So in the so-called digital governance. So I criticize the plan of governments to move new capital city in Kalimantan because in 5 or 10 years in the future, we don't need physical space to serve the citizens and to manage the country because the people are working at home. So if we see the demographic of population of Indonesia, 62% of the population is the Y and the Z generations, who very adaptive with the development of technology. They like and needs to work at home, and I think physical space like today working space is not relevant anymore in the future. And I expect in 10 years the government will decrease and the building that exists right now is not being used in the future. So what we need is how the governments to develop the infrastructure of technology, information and communications, so that, for example, distance learning like what we have today by Open University is not all region Indonesia has good infrastructure of distance learning. So this is I think the vision and mission of the governments today with new minister, with the young minister, 35 minister to build, establish better infrastructure of technology to make sure that distance learning will be effectively implemented in Indonesia. Because Open University is the future of education. So if we see and observe some university in Europe, they lost more than 55% of students today because the students changed from traditional learning into the distance learning, so into the electronic learning. So this is the future of education. The infrastructure should be better and so on. The third fundamental change is knowledge-based society or knowledge-based governance. So knowledge will be the most important things to create innovations in the governance. So as also mentioned by Madam Alfonso, that innovations is needed in the next future of society and governance. So learning from other countries like Korea, Japan, Singapore, China, yeah, there are three main priority of development program. So one is education and human development. This must be in the first priority of development program. The second is how to improve the governance and also institutional reform. And the third is infrastructure development. I think the Jokowi's government has put the infrastructure program in the first priority of development. So it's time to move from infrastructure to education and human development, and also improve the quality of governance and institutions in Indonesia. This is the changing governance pattern in the new public governance, so from hierarchical to platter and participatory governance. So state and governance is not only the player in the development, but we have to open the opportunity to citizens to participate in the policy making, in the implementation, also in the evaluations of program development. So from authoritarian to inclusive leadership that closer to the citizens, so listening what the people needs and expect. Yeah. From centralized to decentralized governance, more closer to the citizen. From government funded to partnerships, public, private, people, philanthropist partnership, 5P. So development funded not only by the government budget, but also from the private, from the philanthropists, and also from the people. So I see that some countries like Singapore is using now the power of philanthropists to finance some development priority. So from silo-based to more collaborative governance, from process to outcome, and also from manual to IT-based and shared data. I think the most problematic situation that we face to create digital governance is how to set up the culture or shell culture amongst the institutions, yeah, because the silo mentality culture is one of the problematic that we have and should be decreased by having joint project or joint collaborative budgetary system and so on. This is the changing in global governments, so from single actor to multi-actors, from fragmented to interconnected, from centralized to decentralized, from static to dynamics, from authority to knowledge, so from power of authority to knowledge, power of knowledge, so from state to society, from local to global, from manual to digital, and from public to private. The second part of my presentation will be the challenges of public administrations. I think there are four challenges in the new public governance. One is the progress on democracy and market. This is characterized by open government, needs also open society like this conference, decentralization and also open market competitions. Yeah. Second one is the ICT progress and lifestyle. So using personal computing, internet, mobile phones, cloud computing, and social networkings. The third is demographic trends, characterized by stronger middle class, more educated society and our community, but also bigger roles of women in the bureaucracy. And the fourth is public expectations, more transparency, accountability, and public participation in the decision-making process. The trends in the future of public administrations will be influenced by two main variables. One is the technological advancements, and the second one is the socioeconomic environments. The technological environments will change the role of humans and machines. So I think in the next 5 or 10 years, the number of civil servants will be decreased. Instead of we are going to recruit or to create robotic agents to provide services to the citizens. So human is needed in the policy options and also wisdom of humans, yeah, in the policy making process. Yeah. So merging of real and virtual worlds, yeah, advancement in emotion computing technology, so artificial intelligence, and also fusion through smart technology, so the convergence of technology. The second variables will be socioeconomic impairments by rising of elderly and female manpower in the society. So focus on quality of life, advancement of high value-added knowledge and intensive industry. So a creative economy will be more and more needed in the future. So increase the movement of population between countries and migration of multiculturalism, because the borderless nations, ASEAN Economic Community will bring also capital and also manpower to Indonesia, and in contrary from Indonesia to Australia or to Singapore or to Philippines or to Vietnam and so on. The difficulty in managing migrations of manpower is how to make sure that the competencies and the culture of citizens, Indonesian citizens, will be fit with the competitions in the ASEAN countries, like ASEAN economic countries. In the decentralized governments, it is very difficult to make sure that all strategy in the, for example, in the Ministry of Labor, to make sure that the standard of competency will be also guaranteed in the provincial and also in the local governments. So one side, we have to compete with the Filipino, we have to compete with the Vietnamese, we have to compete with the Malayan, but we cannot make sure that the competencies of all Indonesian citizens will be fit with the competition in the global level. This is, I think, the most problematic situation that we have now in Indonesia. I think Filipino has also the same situations, because decentralization is also stronger in the Philippine system. And also climate change and energy crisis, as I mentioned before. This is one of the socio-economic environments that will be should be more pay attention on this contributor of change. So it will influence some changes in the future work environments. So strengthen human network to create value and knowledge. Yeah. Change from company and workplace in job medium. Polarization of jobs and strengthen the database personnel management. Increase in self-employment. So this is one of the future challenges. So the increasing of self-employment, so people working at home, so starting with new business and job creation in service industry, but also flexible work, also flexible hour working time. So I think slowly the traffic jam in Jakarta will be reduced because the people are working at home. So with flexible time. Yeah. This is technological advancement and also change of public administrations. So characterized by the infinite increase in data, exponential network growth. Yeah. I think networking is very important in the digital globalized society. Infinite expansion of computing power and prevalence of artificial intelligence in all sectors and also life cycle of human. Changes in the value of data is collapse of traditional boundaries, changes in the capability and role of machines, and demands for change in the role of humans. Yeah. And change in the future society will be changing of role of human and machines, so merging of real and virtual worlds, emotional computing technology, and also fusion of smart technology. This is the changes in the socio-economic environments. Demographic structure will be characterized with an aging society and women's critical involvement in the social activities. Climate that emphasizes the quality of life. Yeah. balance between economic activities and leisure, yeah, and the development of high-value added knowledge-based services, yeah, the expansion of cross-border migration and multiculturalism. I think in the study of public administration, we should also emphasize on trans-administration or trans-boundary policy making process, because in the globalized society, we cannot decide, we cannot make policy by ourselves, but also we have to cooperate with Malaysia, with Philippines, with Vietnam, with Thailand, and so on, in the very changing dynamic society. For example, in the policy of trafficking, terrorism, narcotic, and so on. And also climate change and energy crisis are expected to persist in the next future. This is Asia Pacific Governance Index. If we see the table, compare from 2006 until 2016. So, okay. There is not much progress actually in some indicators of governance. You can see the government effectiveness in East Asia and Pacific. You see, 2006 until 2016. So the rank is almost the same. So too much changing, but no change in the indicator of global governance. We can see also in the regulatory quality in East Asia and Pacific, not much progress. Rule of law, also the same situations, and also control of corruptions. In the control of corruptions, there are slow progress. Yeah, Indonesia has also same situations from 2006 to 2016. What we can say from this picture, actually. So far, we didn't put and pay attention to the development of governance and institutions. So we stress much on the economic development without having attention on improvement of enabling factors, necessary conditions. So how we can control the corruptions, guarantee the effectiveness and efficiency of the governance, making more better quality of regulations, yeah, rule of law, and also having more voice and accountability for the citizens to participate in the policy making process. So this is, I think, the government should know, because the economic development cannot be effectively achieved if we don't pay attention on the development of institutions, development of human resource, development of structure of government business process, technology, using technology effectively, and so on. Yeah. I compare some countries like Korea, Singapore, Japan, Chinese. So at least there are 4 stages in the development of these developed countries. Singapore, for example, and Korea, in the 60s and 80s until 80s, they focus on efficient market-based economy, yeah, to create and to achieve a faster development economic. But it stopped. It's not stop on the economic. It's the start with cultural reform. So Singapore and Korea starting to change the culture of citizens and also public servants from 80 to 2000. So 20 years they changed the cultures. I expected 5 years ago that the President Jokowi has launched the mental revolution mental, but I observed the result is not so effective because we are not focusing on the values and the way to change the mindset and culture of the people. So this is very important because no single country can be developed countries without any cultural reforms, mindset, values, that fit with the economic development plan and so on. The problem in Indonesia is the problem of culture. How to create culture of incorruptibility, meritocracy, growth, prudent, market, and so on. This is what we need to, as fast as possible, to put it into the development program. So, and because of the technology, could only improve the quality of process, not the quality of culture of people. Yeah. Sorry, okay. If we are talking about the digitizations, we are talking about the development index of electronic governments. So Indonesia is in the rank 107. Philippines is better, I think, in the rank of 75. Yeah. Republic of Korea, Singapore, and Japan are on the top list of electronic government development index. So this is the percentage of countries by level and geographical regions. If we see Asia, Asia is also better there compared to Africa, for example. Most of the countries has been achieved level of high and also very high electronic government's development index. Yeah. Europe is the best one because I think European countries is developed countries have already infrastructure of technology and also culture. This is the individual using of internet. The blue one is the world in the middle. The highest one is I think Europe. The green one is American countries. Asia Pacific is in the apa itu? Nggak kelihatan mata saya, Pak. Jadi gray ya, I think the gray ya, the gray one. GIS is Commonwealth Independent State, the post-Russian, post-Soviet Union states. Yeah, this is the okay. Top 10 countries in electronic participations. So Denmark, Finland, Republic of Korea. Yeah, this is all the European countries except Korea, maybe. Okay, I'm coming to third part of my presentations. How we could, actually I have another data and informations. So more than 15 years after reform of Indonesian governments, actually the democracy index of Indonesia is not increasing but slowly decreasing. And I compare also the socioeconomic indicators, so the GDP per capita, Human Development Index, Gini Index, and so on. So what we need is actually how we can improve the quality of public administrations by complementing between the Western values and also Asian values. I think not all the values in Indonesian local government's system is bad values, but I think we can find also, for example, in Bali we find Trihita Karana, the balance of life between the relation between human to human, human to environment, human to God, and so on. But also Swaka Dharma, the spirit, the soul and spirit serving the people. Yeah, this is, we cannot only adopt the Western values and system into the public governance in Indonesia, but it's better to complementing the wisdom and local indigenous values with the Western values to establish the better organization, human resource, and also policy. What we need is to improve the quality of governance, doing structural transformations, so business process engineering, restructuring, creating performance-based organizational structure, yeah, transforming the basic values and culture of Indonesian citizens and public servants, but also transforming the digitalizations. This is new capabilities on new public governance. So new capabilities to interact with digital machines. Slowly, I think the new generation will easily interact with the machines, because if we see the demographic of Indonesian population, 62% is Y and Z generations, 32% is X generations, and 8.8% is baby boomers. Yeah, people who were born before 64. So the information sharing culture, global negotiation and communications, because of trends of globalizations, need more interactions with some other countries in the policy making, in the implementing of some global agreement, treaty, and so on. Utilization of value and local wisdom, deciding a policy in multi-level governance, global, national, provincial, and also local government system, innate human ability to recognize the problems, and also innate human ability to explore alternative with human creativity. Reform public administration and global agenda include the target of SDGs. So implementation of Paris Global Agenda cannot be separated from capability. So creating capability, culture, and policy adaptation in the PA system. So the challenge faced is the contradiction between strengthening decentralization in the several ASEAN countries, yeah, and with demands of globalization and global agenda, yeah, such as SDGs, ASEAN Economic Community, and so on. So, world expectation to public administration reform for SDGs to 2030, demand for more people-centered governance, greater use of ICT technologies in the public sector, and demand for high-quality human resources in the public sector to deal with increasingly more complex development imperative. I think education will be the priorities of developments, yeah, to establish new competencies and new culture of people and also public servants facing the trend of globalization and also digitalizations. In conclusions, I would say that global megatrend is one of the new challenges in the government and public administrations. Every country have to face the new challenges by implementing the fundamental transformations in regard to structure, culture, and also capabilities seriously and continuously. Public administration is becoming one of the most important factors to enhance the capability of government and state to compete and collaborate in the globalizations. The technology advancement and socio-economic change will basically increase the need of global new public governance with the new capabilities of public servants to be adaptive with the citizen expectation and need. And the ideal picture of public administration involves a society in which uniquely human abilities are integrated with the capabilities of machines, leading to an expansion in the overall scope of innovation in the governments and society. With this, I would like to end my presentation, and thank you very much.
Thank you, Prof. Eko, for an excellent presentation and challenging as well. So I think I would like to highlight the Prof. Eko presentations, but not all. But I think this is very important for the development priority that Professor Eko mentioned already. There are three basic, I think, priority that need to be ensured in regard to the future of the global mega trends. Human resource development and education is one of the important aspects. Administrative reform and infrastructure developments, and have to be in line with the SDGs, Sustainable Development Goals. So I think, thank you, and if you have questions or inquiry, please keep in your mind, and I think I will call after the sessions. The last session, the recorded session from the Dr. Lims. Please re-screen the video, Mas Putra.
Greetings, good afternoon. First of all, I'd like to thank the organizers of Open Society Conference for allowing me to tape my presentation due to clashes in schedule. Thank you. Today my presentation is on digital democracy and public accountability. Hello, greetings, good afternoon. First of all, I'd like to thank the organizers of Open Society Conference for allowing me to tape my presentation due to clashes in schedule. Thank you. Today my presentation is on digital democracy and public accountability in the smart city of Singapore. Powerful argument is made that both authoritarian and liberal democratic systems are vulnerable to technological developments, while authoritarian regimes have tools that can better control their citizens or even project their destabilizing tools overseas to interfere with other countries' political systems. Parliamentary democracies like Singapore also face challenges in managing the rise of online falsehood and the need to guard against them to preserve the integrity of the country and the nation. Powerful anti-liberal ideologues, anarchists, hackers, state-sponsored groups, terrorists, and other social disruptors utilize the power of the internet to spread their messages or carry out their covert missions. Even liberal activists have been under scrutiny by governments when some of them successfully utilize social media devices to inspire revolutions and uprisings against governments, sometimes resulting in the democratization, sometimes destabilizing both democracies and authoritarian governments simultaneously. Democracies are delicate and vulnerable. Sometimes their guardians, electors, voters, and citizenry take them for granted. Just because parliamentary democracy has been around and enjoying stability for decades, it does not guarantee them longevity. Efforts have to be made by its stakeholders to maintain credible institutions, instill the people's trust in them, make them resilient, and strengthen their integrity in the face of disruptive forces. Singapore, like other parliamentary democracies, guard the integrity of the system closely. Today, Germany is probably the strongest developed country when it comes to protecting its citizens from online falsehoods. France and other countries are following suit to protect their discourse narrative spaces from foreign interference and hostile disruptive forces to their democracies. All societies, whether perceived, homogeneous or multicultural ones, are subjected to racial, ethnic, socioeconomic, gender, religious divisions. Powerful forces can exacerbate these divisions, open them up further, and cause social disruption. Singapore is concerned about online falsehood undermining the process of democracies in the world. It is especially sensitive to false news and information related to race and religion, with the potential to create misunderstanding and discontent between different racial, ethnic, and religious communities in a multicultural society. If the democratic process is weakened and elections compromised, it may lead to an erosion of democracy in Singapore. Some of the devices used to replicate falsehoods include social bots that replicate spam with such a sheer scale that when replicated enough, it provides the impression that there is public support behind the statements. Software can emulate public figures' appearances and replicate them digitally, such that it becomes difficult to authenticate the real persona from the digital copy. While this is a high-tech method to create fake news and confusion, there are primitive methods of simply repeating or repeatedly reposting articles to create false impressions. Due to the emergence of falsehoods or what are popularly known as fake news, Singapore authorities' response is actually to keep it out of Singapore and disallow it from undermining Singapore's democracy. This is especially since online falsehoods can seep into Singapore easily due to the prevalence of English as a national working language and the ability of many Singaporeans to speak that language. In addition, Singapore is an open society with a high percentage of its citizens plugged into the internet and using smartphones. Given that Singapore is also a major transportation and communication hub, a tourist hotspot, a major financial center in the world, and a center of trade and commerce, there are constant hostile forces of disorder keen to disrupt the workings of this metropolis. Thus, the only way for a small city-state like Singapore to fend off powerful forces of hostility and disruption is to be vigilant against them and be alert to any online intrusions, disruptions, especially against the institutions of parliamentary democracy in Singapore. Singapore's high levels of corporate governance, political governance, corrupt-free institutions, defensive armed forces, and well-run civil service bureaucracy must also be protected from hostile online forces. Government is keen to ensure that the people's trust in the democratic institution of Singapore remain intact and not undermined by online falsehoods. Singapore's confidence and trust in the democratic institutions must remain strong, especially in a multicultural society. The authorities and many in Singapore's society are firm in not allowing foreign interference to influence the destiny of nation building and the destiny of the country. The motivations for online falsehood undermining the democratic institutions in Singapore are many, ranging from less politically oriented reasons like profit making, for example sensational news posting, attracting viewership which then translated into money making opportunities like advertising, to politically sinister ones that cause disharmony in the social fabric of Singapore, and finally the deadly objective of radicalizing readership. Incitement of hatred between racial, ethnic, and religious groups in multicultural Singapore is probably one of the most preempted scenarios in Singapore's law enforcement strategy and worldview. Singapore experienced bloody racial riots in the 1960s during the early days of nation building. In the late colonial era, which is around 15 years before independence, the Maria Hertog riots are deeply ingrained in the minds of all Singaporeans, shell-shocking and terrifying eyewitnesses amongst the elderly generation of the era, and through mass public education in the aftermath of the incident. On the eve of Singapore's independence period, the Communal Riots of 1964 were probably one of the most well-known case studies in the power of media sensationalism, rumors, and disinformation exacerbating and inciting anarchic sentiments amongst the different racial groups within a multicultural society. For these two case studies, I referred to the online Infopedia resources of the National Library Board for accounts of both riotous events in Singapore's nation building history. The Maria came into being on 24th March 1937 in main island of Java, Indonesia, and was naturally baptized Maria Huberdina Hertog in Catholicism, as her parents were Eurasian Roman Catholics with Dutch heritage. She was born into a large family of 7 kids and was the 5th youngest amongst her siblings. Hertog was born into a military family, as her dad, Adrianus Petrus Hertog, was a ranking sergeant, non-commissioned officer from the other ranks in the Royal Netherlands East Indies Army. Adrianus' spouse was a mixed heritage individual, was born and bred in Java, and Maria Hertog riots occurred between 11 and 13 December 1950. The disturbances broke out over the guardianship and responsibility for the future well-being and education of Dutch Eurasian Maria, who was born into Roman Catholic Church denomination and affiliation. The riots killed 18 while 119 automobiles were wrecked. The financial damages came up. The anarchists took a racial bent by zooming in on Westerners and Eurasians in Singapore, as well as embarked on a revenge attack on Malay people suspected of siding or working with the Europeans. So this was one of the very traumatic event that happened in the Singapore's early history. And the other case studies when it comes to media sensationalism in inciting riots was probably can be seen in the other case study, right? Which happened a decade and a half later, before the scars of Hadoop riots were healed completely. This second traumatic experience in Singapore's nation building broke out without prior warning. Like the Hadoop riots, incitement, media sensationalism, rumors, provocative images, and other informational tools exploiting existing fault lines in Singapore's multicultural society were responsible for the outbreak of communal violence in the city territory. Communal riots of 1964 saw ethnic Malay and Chinese Singaporeans fighting each other. The initial riots broke out on 21st of July 1964 during the celebration of Prophet Muhammad's birthday by approximately 20,000 Malay and Indian Muslims, and the second set of rioting happened on 2nd September 1964 after a Malay trishaw passenger lost his life in Geylang Serai. Muslim entourage started walking from the Padang National Square for gathering and stopped at Lorong 12 in Geylang. But along this route in Kallang Road and Kampong Supu, also known as Padang Jeringau, nearer to Geylang, fights broke out between the Malay entourage and Chinese spectators of the birthday celebration. As the news spread, it incited more rioting across the city, and consequently 4 individuals lost their lives and 178 were wounded on the first day alone. Eventually, the July disturbances ended up with 23 dead, 454 wounded, 3,568 incarcerated, 715 persecuted, and 945 locked up. Public infrastructure and privately owned assets were also targeted, pelted and torched by the rioters, carrying pebbles, rocks, glasswares, and other handheld missiles, particularly in the roadside hawking trolleys, shop houses, and commercial spaces in Kallang Road, Kampong Supu, Geylang Road, and Geylang Serai saw damages, including vehicles that were flipped over with glass components cracked. In coping with the crisis, the manpower deployment of law enforcement officers was stretched to the limit, and the armed forces were deployed to impose island-wide restrictions on the movements in the island from 9:30 p.m. on 21st July 1964 to 6 a.m. in the morning after. Yet, 24 social disturbances occurred during the restrictions, and when the restrictions were lifted, fighting again occurred after a short respite. So restrictions of movements were also imposed again island-wide. The grassroots leaders from all racial groups were mobilized to calm the situation throughout the island. Restriction lasted until the following month, on 2nd August 1964, and the law enforcement officers as well as armed forces returned to the barracks. However, 4 days later, on 6th of August 1964, fighting happened again, and law enforcement authorities had to return to enforce the peace between Chinese and Malay rioters. A day later, calm was restored, and the law enforcement officers returned to their normal routes. So all these experiences were burned into the psyche and political socialization of the founding fathers of Singapore. It was clearly visible how fragile racial and religious harmonies were in Singapore, and when the forces of disruption and disharmony were released. Its impact was destructive and required considerable state resources to restore order. Such disturbances can easily happen again since digital technologies can now disseminate information much faster and over a wider area than just printed leaflets. Moreover, the forces of disruption and anarchy are now global in scope and just as technologically savvy. Incitement forces are no longer local in scope, but encompass foreign extremists and other forces of destabilization. Singapore is not an exception in such misinformation campaigns. Many other developed economies have experienced the same challenges. For rigorous comparative treatment of misinformation cases in other developed economies, one may refer to the Green Paper presented by the Singapore's Minister of Law to the Parliament in 2018. The authority studied online falsehood for 2 years, meticulously before legislating laws against the perpetrators, from comparative experiences of other developed advanced countries, and also Singapore's precedents of social disturbances. Concerted efforts were made to push forward a bill against online falsehood or fake news. There are now avenues to move quickly against offenders and nip the news in the bud before they can do real harm to society. Punishment can also be meted out to both disseminators as well as contents providers of such online falsehood. The legislation is titled Protection from Online Falsehood and Manipulation Bill. This legislation emerged from the Green Paper, followed by detailed studies carried out by a parliamentary committee. Fines meted out to offenders can reach a peak of 1 million Singapore dollars. There will also be repercussions of forwarding fake social media messages, so online users, self-styled vigilantes, and other enthusiasts will have to be discerning, responsible, and careful in forwarding pre-written messages. Singapore and its authorities have a progressive internet use, encouraging high levels of smartphone use and internet penetration for the economic well-being, digitization of work-living public spaces, with ambitions to become a smart city of the first magnitude. The authorities also expect a high level of integrity in contents provision and content sharing for the responsible use of cyberspace in accordance with the constraints of a multicultural metropolitan society with many mingling communities in close proximity and inherited as well as evolving constant fault lines. Given the importance of academic discourses and constructive criticism, the government is meticulous and careful to clarify through the Ministry of Education that opinions and research, as well as academic research work, are not affected by the bill. They have mentioned that the bill covers verifiably false statements of facts which affect public interest. Excuse me. The bill does not restrict opinions and will not affect academic research work. In addition, in a highly enlightened and progressive move, the Ministry of Education extended their invitation to autonomous universities to hold discussion sessions for the academics to clarify any concerns they may have and look forward to meaningful discussion on the bill. Singapore also joins other developed, advanced, progressive, liberal democracies in protecting its citizens from online falsehood. France, for example, has legislation that empowers their judiciary to eliminate fake news from online websites during political electioneering season. Singapore is catching up with the developed liberal democracies in this aspect as well. Thank you very much for your kind attention. And many thanks to the organizers. Thank you.
A democratic country. Unfortunately, Professor Dr. Lim is not here, so I think that I will not deliver questions to him, because actually I'm also interested in the Asia-Pacific area studies or Asian studies, but unfortunately he's not here, so no problem. I would like to deliver my questions to Professor Grace and Echo. it is very interesting progress when you also are very interested in the culture, communications, and we know that when we talk about the technology in the present time, the use of the social media, increasing highly, especially in the region, Southeast Asia. So I just want to know about your perspective or opinions. Do you really think that with the technological innovations, this is going to affect the tradition or the culture? Because we know that East and West are very different, and Philippines and Indonesia adopted the liberal democracy. And we know that based on the theory of the Francis Fukuyama, on his book about the end of the history, about the liberal democracy, finally this theory has been criticized due to the rise of the China as an emerging market. So it is not about political system, but it is about the economic liberalization. So do you think that with the technological innovations, it's going to affect the culture, the traditions of the people in the East, or in Indonesia, for example, or in the Philippines? The second is to the Professor Eko. I agree with you about the multi-party system in Indonesia, and I also agree because the problem in Indonesia is about or lies on the political elites. So we just run the elections, every 5 years and elect our MP, our governor, our regions, but the quality is still questionable. So my question to you is that, do you think that the problem in Indonesia is due to the political system or the bad bureaucracy? Or do you think that we need to find out another method of the democracy, or another democracy that is not like the democracy in the Westerns, because the democracy in the Western is too liberal? So do you think that it is compatible with the characteristic in Indonesia? Because we know that Indonesia is very multicultural and also multi-religion. So do you think that it is compatible? Or do you think that we need to find out another methods of democracy? So that is my
Could you
question.
be shortening your comments?
That is my questions.
Okay, then. Okay, that's good.
Yeah, I
That's
just
good.
want to deliver my question. About my comment, I don't have any problem because I agree in some points with the Professor Eko regarding the multi-party system, as a problem also in our making decision process.
Okay, I think we got your questions.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. The next will be the ladies.
Thank you very much for the opportunity. My name is Avelin Pinkan Komuna from Open University Indonesia. My question is actually for Prof. Eko, and I'm as a millennials and active user media want to ask about the interesting presentation about the global mega trends that we have to face. My question is, what is the future platform of public participations so the millennials can involve too? How about the trends digital movement in social media, such as online petitions, hashtags viral, or maybe trending topics? Could it be considered as idea for the future platform for public participations to face the 6 mega trends that you say in your presentation? Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Aryan. I think you are representing the Y generations. Okay, next, Pak Hanif. Please be short because of the limited time.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, my name is Hanif Haris from Law, Social and Political Sciences, Open University. My question one is for Ms. Prof. Alfonso. Maybe you can explain upon the barangay government in the Philippines, because regarding to the desa in Indonesia. I think barangay. Local government in Philippines is barangay. One local government in Philippines barangay. Barangay, maybe, yes. Barangay. Yes, I think the local government in Philippines is municipal, county, and barangay. Yes, barangay. Maybe you can explain what is the governance of the barangay in Philippines, because it is maybe similarly in desa Indonesia. Because what is status barangay in Philippines? It is local government. Is it community? Because in Indonesia there is desa, not local government, because only community like state corporation. From Prof. I very interesting about problem of local government is not culture because structure. I think the structure of local government is not clear in the community, because the local government consists province, kabupaten, and kota. In the desa is not local government because only community corporate based state. The symposium ASEAN in Universitas Magelang, Maret, some people that publish on community, on public service for community. There is majority of people explore the public service in community is not clear, because the desa not organize the basic service, especially in education, health, and economic services. That is the problem in the all country, Mr. Eko. What is your opinion about this problem? Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Mas Hanif. And the last.
Thank you, Prof. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Afrifa Kaidir from Universitas Negeri Padang, West Sumatra. I try to make it short. I have two questions and one comment. The first question is to Professor Grace Alfonso. It's about, I think in the notion of open society in the future, we facing the era of 4.0 or 5.0. I think we still have a problem to deal with between two values, between what we call Western values and the other side is Eastern values. So I think it's slowing the movement toward the open society in the future. My question is how the Philippine people, Philippine society deal with this issue. Because I think Filipino and Indonesia is quite different with this issue. I think in the opinion of Indonesian opinion, Philippines is more Westerners than Indonesia. And Indonesia still try to maintain or defend his Eastern values as hard as they can towards the issue of Western, and openness is not the original issue in Indonesian society. I think that's my first question. The second question for Professor Eko Prasodjo, I would like to asking or request your point of view about the issue of what do we call it as downsizing of Indonesian government, which is recently the new government talk about how to reduce the level of echelonization in our government. And the second was also talk about how to mix or try to simplify the organization of University Indonesia, because we are from Indonesia, from university, not from Universitas Terbuka. I think it's become a debate in our university. And the last one is about my comment about, I think both of our distinguished speakers talk about the supply side of open society. I think we also have to talk about and think about the demand side of open society, which is the society itself. I think Indonesia, in my opinion, is still have a problem with this, because people not able to deal with the information, transparency of the government, and they tend to be more believe and absorbing the issue from social media. I think it's quite dangerous to the future of the open society in the future. I think that's my point of view there. Thank you so much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi. Thank you. The last would be Pak Kaidir. I think I would give to Prof. Eko first from the Daniel, and then followed by Prof. Alfonso.
Thank you. I'm going first, Madam. Yeah, thank you. Okay, thank you very much, Pak Denis Pasaribu. Yeah. Okay, the quality of governance is not independent. It depends on the quality of system, political system, depend on the government system, and so on. So I think there are three fundamental subsystems that influence the quality of governance. One is the political party system and political election, which is very expensive in Indonesia. So we have so many political parties. Normally the government should bargain the position, the budget amongst the coalition party system. And it is not easy to manage government with big coalitions of political party like Indonesia. The second one is the bad quality of bureaucracy. We know that Indonesian bureaucracy characterized by patronage bureaucracy, feudal bureaucracy, and also power culture bureaucracy. So the challenges is not only change the competency of bureaucracy itself, but also the culture of bureaucracy. Yeah. And talking about and dealing about the cultural culture of bureaucracy, it is not snapshot program and short program, but also this is long time program, yeah, 20 or 30 years, changing the culture of bureaucracy. But Indonesia has golden momentum because this is a transition between the old generation into the new generations with the new competencies and culture of generations. So we have to prepare Indonesia for 2030 and also 2045. And I suggest that we don't have to miss the golden momentum, because this is the future of Indonesia, to prepare the system and also the institution that can encourage new generation to coming into the bureaucracy as policymaker. So improving the recruitment system, the promotion system is a part of creating condition in the bureaucracy so that we can recruit the best talent, and the brightest citizen into the bureaucracy. And the third one is the central and decentralization. So centralization and decentralizations, or relation between central and local governments, it's also influence the quality of public services, you know. Because if we are talking about the quality of education services, we are talking about the multi-level governance, from the regulation power and also implementing power. And it is not easy to maintain and to provide education services to the citizen in the multi-governance system like Indonesia. So, because the ministers and the head of central agency cannot easily make sure that the strategic national plan could be effectively implemented in the nation, in the local government level. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe we have to rethinking the decentralization system in Indonesia. Some sectors maybe could also fully decentralize to local governments, but some sector maybe should be maintained in the national authority level. So the second question is about the future form of participations. I think I have two students who conducted research on how people participate in the policy making process. So social media has a big role to influence the content of the policy process. I think there are two undang-undang, two laws in Indonesia failed to be enacted because of the social media control. So one is the revision of Undang-Undang Pilkada during the SPY era, and one is Undang-Undang KPK actually. But first amendment, first revision of Undang-Undang KPK has been failed by the social control of the media. But I think the second revisions have been enacted as a law of Undang-Undang KPK. I agree that social media will play more bigger and bigger role to control and to influence, to participate in the policy making process in Indonesia. Pak Hanif, I'm not so clear what is your questions, but we are facing globalization and decentralizations. Too much decentralization is also counterproductive with the fast response to the globalizations, because an integrated policy, fragmented policy, will be also a big problematic situation for us. For example, in facing the ASEAN Economic Community, because we have to have like a fast response of the policy, and it is difficult to coordinate, to supervise the policy from central to local governments in the decentralized government. If we give the village or barangay with the more autonomous, it means we have 5 multi-level governance: global, central, provincial, municipality, and also village governance. It's more complicated having the integrated policy making process in Indonesia. We have to think about this part, I think. Okay, and about the downsizing the structure of governments, as I wrote in the Kompas opinion last Saturday, I think we have launched actually the restructuring of Echelon 3 and 4 in the 2012, and we have implemented this idea in the BPKP at that time. So BPKP reduced 145 Echelon 3 and 4, and instead of having structure, they changed with the functional assignment, so jabatan fungsional. And it was successfully implemented, I think. Yeah, because we have to change from structural position into the functional positions to make bureaucracy more professional. So regarding the structure in the university, I think it's time to create so-called performance-based organizational structure in the university. I understand that there are also some units, some agencies in the university that are not relevant to managing the teaching, research, and also community engagement in the university. Yeah, but also restructuring in the Ministry of Higher Education is very important here to increase or enhance the trust of university that, okay, we have pilot model, role model, that the ministry has also restructured the organization, and the university has also do the same thing with the ministries. Thank you very much.
The last, Prof. Eko, I think from the Pak Kaidir, whether the open society will be a burden for Indonesia to apply in the future.
No, I think in the community empowerment, we have to framework. Yeah? So empowering the state and also empowering the community. So far, I think we have too much focus on empowering the society. What will be happen is the distrust of the society, because the awareness of society is increasing, but the state is not changing. So I think you're right. Not only the supply, not only the demand, but I'm in contrary with your opinions, because so far we empowering the people, but not empowering the state, society, the public servants to be more open to the society. This is what happened in Indonesia. The awareness of citizens is more and more increasing, but the state, the public servant, is still remain. Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Are you leaving or Prof. Eko?
Yeah, I'm leaving. Yeah.
I'm leaving.
Sorry, because we have also international conference at the university in our faculty, so I have to close the conference at 12 o'clock. So I have to hurry to to depart to our to depot. I thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you so much, Prof. Eko. I think for very intuitive and very intellectual discussions and response to your oral questions. Because Prof. Eko has to be rushed up to the university, then I think so. Please give applause to Prof. Eko, and we will follow the.
Please remind to on the stage. We would like to give the panel speakers to receive the placard and souvenir, and kindly please Mr. Sofjan Arifin to come to the stage to pass on the placard and souvenir for Professor Eko Prasodjo, the Dean of Faculty of Administration Sciences, Universitas Indonesia. Okay, please give a warm applause. Okay, thank you.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I think so. I'm following the inquiries and questions addressed to Professor Alfonso. And please,
Yeah,
Professor
I
Alfonso.
remember
Daniel.
Daniel, of course, Daniel. Daniel, I know you. I think we were together yesterday. Thank you for my first question. And if I understand it right, you're asking me about social media, and I think it's in West Culture was coming from here. But let me tell you about media and communication and education in the Philippines. I think you have an idea, since historically we have a strong grounding on the American system of education. So that means, and even our Constitution, it's based on the American Constitution. So it is, I will be probably answering both questions at the same time. So even in what is happening in media, is that people are always listening to radio, television, going to social media. In fact, at one time, I think, I don't know, up to now, we're the most textingest nation in the world. People are always in Instagram and Facebook, etc., and so on. So that's the background. And media to us is like a way of life. And we were the earliest place where film came in. Historically, we did a lot of movies early. Television was also easily absorbed by the people. So media is second nature. Storytelling is second nature. Making use of media to communicate is second nature. So going into media and education together is probably not too difficult, because basically Filipinos are storytellers, and they go into one medium to another. Now, whether the East and West culture, and whether Indonesia, there is the difference, yes, because we have been colonized for 400 years by the Spaniards, and then actually British came for a while, the Americans came, and the Japanese came. So we are product of, we're a colonized people for a long time, and we are in a position of decolonizing ourselves. So we try as much as possible to flex our muscles and hopefully not being colonized again. So we do have this conscious effort of making sure that we still have the venue for our freedom of expression, and that we have a right to assemble and say what we need to say. So that to Filipinos are quite precious. That's why our media, if our government is strong, and now it has a tendency to stifle media, for example, like one station, if they're criticizing the president now, or people, officials in government, there will be efforts of trying not to renew the franchise of the media, the station, and so on. So it's a constant, it will always be there. So it depends upon what kind of government you have and what kind of cooperation, assurance, or maybe antagonism that will happen cannot be predicted right away. We can only think of scenarios. Because of the fast-changing things, it's very difficult to predict. So, but we're still always hopeful that people are respectful for our democratic spaces. Now, about West and East, I think first I would react to saying, you know, people should take their time. In other words, at your own time. If you do feel that it's time for you to embrace some concepts and constructs that contribute to expanding democratic spaces, this is fine. Because Western ideas and Asian ideas has seeming conflict, I don't think so. I think the tendency for us to always think of being competitive, being, you know, these are old concepts to me. To me, there should only be room for collaboration, networking, partnerships, because that word competition means that, what are we, you know, it's a word that only is zeroed in to capital, to money, and so on. So I think the richness of our region is actually our diversity, and our efforts to make sure that our culture is not tattered by all this digital technology and and the strength of media and education through transnational education, we might be very vulnerable to having a generic culture. So we just have to be conscious about it. And I think that's our responsibility as people in education. So, and the other one, question?
The other, barangay. The barangay.
The barangay. You want me to talk about? Yes, our barangay. Our barangay is part of our formal structure, political structure. In other words, we have elections. We have our national elections. We have a local elections that include the barangays. We have barangay captains that we have to elect. We have to do that. So the barangay is the first responders, okay, first responders. For example, I have a fight with my neighbor. I go to the barangay. They will. There is a justice desk and health desk and everything. So that's the first thing I'll go to. And if we can resolve things there, it doesn't have to go up to our courts. So it is a legitimate part of our government, our local government. Yes, yes.
Okay.
I think that's...
Okay, I think...
okay.
Yeah, I think you have addressed all of the questions and inquiries. Okay, I've been given a notice, notice by the committee that I have to finish by a quarter to 12.
So thank you very much.
My
Thank you.
greatest apology to all of you who haven't given an opportunity for asking or giving an, comments and requesting something from our expert. Ladies and gentlemen, I think I'm not going to conclude our discussions, but again, I think thank you so much for all of your participations and all of your greatest ideas to the, hopefully in 10 years ago, 1998, all of the scholars are quite strong enough and confident that we are now at 1998, making new Indonesians because of the old regimes to the regime of the Reformation era. But what happened now? Nothing happens. Our government index are still flat and no changes at all. So I think this is the times when we all may advocate against that we remaking again Indonesia by now. Thank you, everyone, and thank you, Professor Alfonso. Please give applause to Professor Alfonso.
Okay, thank you very much for the speakers and also for Professor Daryono as our moderator. And right now, we would like to call Professor Grace Xavier Alfonso to receive the placard and souvenir. And kindly please, Mr. Sofyan Arifin to come to pass on the souvenir and also placard. Please give a warm applause. Kindly please to take a photo together for Mr. Sofyan, Professor Daryono, and also Professor Grace Xavier to take a photo together. Okay. Okay, thank you so much. Thank you very much. Thank you, Professor Daryono, Mr. Jovan Arifin, and also Professor Grace Javier. Please be seated. Okay, thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. And ladies and gentlemen, we will listen the information about research and community services, and we would like to invite to the stage Professor Dr. Karnedi MA as the head of Research and Community Services Department to deliver the information. And please welcome Professor Karnedi. Please come to the stage.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Selamat siang, salam sejahtera Bapak Ibu semua. Terima kasih atas kesempatan ini. Can you show my slide please? Terima kasih sekali lagi Pak Dekan atas kesempatan ini. 10 minutes only before you get your lunch. Melalui kesempatan ini kami dari LPP mau mencoba bagi-bagi dana riset Bapak Ibu. Ya, kita bagi-bagi dana riset sekarang ya. Seperti yang kita tahu bahwa selama ini kita dosen peneliti dari semua perguruan tinggi se-Indonesia harus struggling ya, kompetisinya sangat tight competition di level kementerian, dikti ya. Jadi sekarang sedang dinilai, ya, mungkin sebagian besar ada yang didanai, tapi realitasnya sekarang itu passing grade-nya sangat tinggi. Jadi banyak sekali yang akan di-drop ya, tidak didanai. Konsekuensinya tentunya sebagian harus kembali ke perguruan tinggi Bapak Ibu masing-masing untuk didanai di internal. Nah, kami melihat peluang itu di UT, bahwa selama ini sudah ada model-model kerjasama riset dan kolaborasi antara UT dan sejumlah perguruan tinggi mitra. Jadi sejumlah proposal yang tidak lolos mungkin di level kementerian kembali ke PTN Bapak Ibu masing-masing, masih ada peluang untuk kita kerjasamakan dengan teman-teman dosen peneliti di UT Bapak Ibu. Jadi ini sebuah challenge yang kami tawarkan. Boleh dibuka slide-nya? Oh, I'm facing this way. Ya, beberapa strength and weakness UT yang Bapak Ibu mungkin sudah tahu beberapa. Seperti Bapak tahu, UT adalah salah satu one of the mega university dengan more than 300,000 students ya across Indonesia. Kita punya 39 kantor cabang se-Indonesia dan satu layanan luar negeri. Dan kami juga salah satu pelopor cyber university di Indonesia. Dengan 30 tahun UT berjalan, kita sudah mengembangkan pembelajaran secara daring, online learning di Indonesia gitu ya. Kemudian juga sekarang sudah dibentuk apa yang disebut dengan Indonesia Cyber Institute of Indonesia, sebuah watchdog yang akan mengawasi kualitas penyelenggaraan pendidikan terbuka dan jarak jauh di Indonesia. Kemudian kami juga mengklaim nanti agenda UT ke depan sebagai salah satu teaching university dengan asumsi bahwa kita bicara riset, semua hasil riset didedikasikan, dimaksudkan untuk mengembangkan kualitas bahan ajar. Jadi pemutakhiran bahan ajar UT yang Bapak Ibu banyak formatnya, ada yang modul, ada yang digital, ada yang juga blended gitu ya. Kemudian juga ini angin segar, saya mau bagi-bagi dana riset untuk kita semua gitu ya, dengan maksimal yang ada. UT seperti Bapak Ibu itu punya dana 15% untuk riset dan publikasi, itu asumsinya ada sekitar 150 miliar. UT punya dana setiap tahun, dan kami sendiri nggak mampu Bapak Ibu menghabiskan dana sebesar itu, ya sebagian besar harus dikembalikan ke kas negara. Ya, seperti kita punya hanya sekitar 600-700 dosen meneliti di UT, kalaupun dibagi rata 150 miliar, kebagian makin satu bagian berapa proposalnya, itu sesuatu yang impossible lah. Nah, peluang ini kami tawarkan ke Bapak Ibu semua sebagai peneliti dosen di tempat lain. Next slide please. Ya, melalui 4 pusat kami di LPPM, ya 3 terutama sebetulnya. Ada 1 pusat penelitian keilmuan yang fokus meneliti bidang-bidang keilmuan. Bapak Ibu tentunya lebih more advance ketimbang kami di UT gitu ya. Kemudian juga ada salah satu pusat khusus di UT yang menangani riset di bidang inovasi pendidikan terbuka dan jarak jauh. Jadi semua yang berbau online learning, e-learning, blended learning akan diriset melalui pusat ini. Nanti yang dikemandani oleh Prof. Daryono yang moderator barusan. Kalau yang pertama itu oleh Profesor Gorky Sembiring, kemudian ada juga pusat pengabdian masyarakat. Jadi melalui 3 pusat itu kita akan coba kerjasama ke depan. Next please. Ya, ini ada satu model yang Bapak Ibu kami tawarkan Bapak Ibu semua, ya. Nanti di tempat Bapak Ibu semua nanti silakan nanti berkoordinasi dengan LPPM masing-masing. Ini satu model kerjasama kami dengan ALPTK ini, Asosiasi Lembaga Pendidikan dan Tenaga Pendidikan Indonesia yang dulu disebut dengan FKIP ya, IKIP ya. Ya ada sekitar 12 anggota asosiasi itu, kami sudah deal pilot project untuk tahun 2020. Jadi kami akan memberikan sekitar 120 proposal penelitian baik ilmuwan atau bidang inovasi tadi itu dengan masing-masing 100 juta. Nah, kemarin kita sudah sepakati mereka akan sebar 10 proposal untuk masing-masing anggota LPTKNI gitu. Ya saya pikir ada yang dari Unimed di Medan, ada yang Unimed di sini. Anybody from Unimed West Sumatera? Ada yang UNP tadi saya lihat Bapak yang bertanya tadi itu UNP ya. Kita akan drop 10 proposal Bapak untuk tahun 2020. Ada juga yang dari UPI, ada yang UNJ juga dari Malang, Makassar, Surabaya, Bali, ada sekitar 12 IKIP yang dulu bergabung menjadi universitas gitu ya. Nah untuk selebih di luar itu kami tawarkan ke Bapak Ibu yang hadir di seminar kali ini untuk kemudian bisik-bisik dengan ketua LPPM-nya. UT punya dana loh, around 150 billion gitu ya. Kita coba desain riset kolaborasi termasuk PKM juga gitu ya. Jadi Bapak silahkan nanti koordinasi dengan ketua LPPM-nya, kami akan tampung semua usulan proposal yang mungkin tidak lolos di seleksi dikti tahun ini gitu ya. Dan ada aturan main yang berlaku nanti, rule of the game kita. Nah basis kegiatan tentunya ini multi years. Jadi kalau di dikti ada aturan main, sekarang itu multi year itu hanya dinilai awal tahun. Tahun kedua, tahun ketiga tinggal dilanjut, hanya luaran wajibnya yang kita tuntut nanti. Sama luaran tambahannya. Kemudian kita juga akan sepakat dengan LPTN itu mengenai topik atau fokus riset untuk agenda multi years itu. Kemudian juga nanti akan ada sosialisasi dari kami, dari LPPM UT nanti akan berkunjung kalau Bapak-Ibu nanti menyediakan kesediaan ada sekitar a group of researcher di tempat Bapak Ibu yang mau bergabung di luar LPTK ini, silakan nanti koneksi ke LPPM-nya, kami akan datang untuk berbagi update agenda riset ke depan gitu ya. Kemudian juga ada mekanisme seperti biasa, calling for proposal ya, for 2020 riset project gitu ya. Nah yang paling penting itu sebetulnya lebih ke mekanisme Bapak Ibu, mekanisme seleksi kontrak penelitian. Kami akan lihat rekod peneliti. Kalau aturan main di dikti itu, teman-teman yang punya rekod publikasi di jurnal berreputasi, kita katakan Scopus, indeks high indeksnya cukup tinggi, diberi workload riset lebih gitu ya, katakan 2 sebagai ketua dan seterusnya. Kami akan mengadopsi cara itu, kita akan stick dengan aturan main dikti itu, bahwa nanti Bapak teman-teman yang sudah punya rekod bagus silakan nanti mengajukan agenda risetnya ke UT dengan berkoordinasi dengan LPPM masing-masing. Tentunya untuk tahun pertama karena dana juga dari UT, ketua teman-teman dari UT kami minta terutama dari FISIP ini, teman fakultas lain seluruh di UT akan ada 4 fakultas Bapak Ibu, MIPA, FE sama apa satu lagi FKIP gitu ya. Nah, kita akan coba di tahun kedua nanti menyesuaikan. Mungkin ketuanya Bapak sebagai tadinya anggota, tahun kedua, ketiga nanti maju sebagai ketua gitu. Nah, luarannya tetap aturan main dikti, luaran wajib tambahan ya, seperti itu ya. Next please. Nah, ini adalah beberapa skema yang kami tawarkan di UT sejauh ini ya. Ada beberapa 1 2 3 4 5 6 itu yang sudah umum ya. Top research budget grant-nya itu 100 million gitu ya. Mungkin akan di-up sampai 150 gitu ya tahun depan gitu ya. Tapi ada satu skema ke depan yang kami tawarkan ke Bapak Ibu. Saya pikir kemarin sudah ada agenda bilateral research collaboration project gitu ya. Nah, melalui agenda seminar FISIP kali ini tadi ada juga teman-teman dari Philippine, dari Singapura. Nah, mungkin Bapak Ibu sudah punya mitra network dengan negara lain, teman-teman dari negara lain. Silakan itu dilanjut dan di-share ke UT, dikembangkan dengan menggunakan nanti teman-teman dengan dana dari UT. Saya pikir ada yang Koordinasi juga dengan Pak Anies mungkin sudah ada dengan Korea, dengan Singapura, dengan dengan China, any countries worldwide gitu. Silahkan nanti dan basisnya adalah multilateral Bapak Ibu. Sejauh ini bilateral sudah tidak direkomend lagi oleh Dikti. Kita akan lihat nanti kalau bisa Bapak Ibu punya 1, 2, 3 negara nanti plus Indonesia, UT termasuk di situ, itu akan lebih bagus. Karena juga akan menentukan kualitas borang kita Bapak Ibu ya, Bapak tahu di Dikti seperti itu. Jadi kita akan tawarkan skema baru research collaboration dengan mitra luar negeri dengan basis multilateral. Next please. Nah ini adalah salah satu model riset dana riset di UT internal Bapak Ibu. Kita sebut dengan tadi yang Profesor Alfonso dari Philippine, salah satu anggota kita di OU5, 5 Open University di Asia Tenggara gitu. Jadi UT Indonesia, UT Philippine, UT Thailand, UT Laos, UT apalagi Malaysia, ada 5 gitu ya, bergabung melakukan riset sudah cukup lama gitu ya. Nah, kita berikan budget di situ juga seperti itu. Kemudian ada juga skema PTJ ya, pendidikan tinggi dan jarak jauh, terbuka dan jarak jauh. Kemudian yang penting sekali itu R&D, pengembangan belajar UT, modul UT kita kan ada 3 versi sekarang itu. Ada modul selama ini Bapak kenal, kita selalu update begitu melalui riset. Ada juga yang blended learning materials. Ada tempat Ibu, saya kira banyak UNP sekarang sedang melakukan riset project juga dengan Uni Eropa ya, kita di dalam sana Pak, mungkin melalui blended learning gitu ya, atau mungkin digital learning gitu ya. Tapi intinya memang kita akan lihat nanti usulan Bapak Ibu seberapa unik, seberapa novelty-nya gitu ya. Nanti akan melalui LPPM Bapak sendiri akan menseleksi mana proposal yang tidak lolos di Dikti, nanti mereka seleksi ulang di tempat Bapak Ibu, nanti akan diajukan ke UT. Itu yang sudah deal dengan 120 itu. Di luar itu Bapak Ibu yang hadir sekarang itu boleh nanti koordinasi dengan kami, ada link nanti di akhir sesi ini. Bapak silakan nanti sampaikan pertanyaan segala macam, nanti kami respon dalam konteks untuk riset 2020 Bapak Ibu. Ya, next please. Nah ini di luar penelitian, di luar riset tentunya, kami juga menawarkan Bapak Ibu beberapa pengembangan riset juga sebetulnya, tapi berbau community services gitu ya, pengabdian kepada masyarakat. UT dengan 35 tahun itu kita lebih fokus kepada ya open learning, distance learning, online learning, virtual learning dan interconnectivity dan macam-macam jenisnya, cyber U gitu ya. Kemudian juga salah satu model PKM UT adalah tidak harus selalu datang ke masyarakat untuk PKM ya. Bapak Ibu boleh teman-teman dosen di UT itu mengembangkan hasil risetnya untuk di-share ke masyarakat dalam bentuk program MOOCs Bapak Ibu. Jadi Bapak Ibu mungkin sudah pengalaman buka manajemen MOOC juga tempat masing-masing. Silakan nanti bergabung dengan teman-teman dosen di UT untuk mengembangkan program MOOC berdasarkan hasil riset Bapak Ibu. Itu akan sangat menarik sekali. Berikut. Ya, saya kira itu sekali lagi Bapak sebagai penutup, mohon maaf. Jadi kami menunggu, tadi ada link, bisa dimunculkan linknya. Jadi Bapak Ibu yang memang minat untuk bekerjasama dengan UT, membangun network, research network gitu ya, bersama dengan teman dosen di UT, silakan nanti mengajukan beberapa pertanyaan dan apa yang bisa kami nanti bantu untuk kita fasilitasi. Kalau selama ini sudah ada MOU, PKS dengan beberapa PTN mitra di tempat Bapak Ibu, kalau yang belum, segera kami akan nanti fasilitasi gitu ya. Sehingga nanti semua yang hadir hari ini, teman-teman FISIP dari beberapa perguruan tinggi, sadar banyak sekali tadi itu yang hadir ya, across Indonesia gitu. Nah mungkin bisa nanti menyampaikan sejumlah pertanyaan, komen, nanti kami coba jembatani gitu ya. Saya kira informasi itu ya Bu. Silakan nanti memanfaatkan event ini, dana ini, Bapak Ibu juga kita bisa, sehingga nanti intinya mutual benefit ya, untuk bagian kita semua. Kita tidak hanya berhenti di riset, tapi juga lebih kepada impact-nya buat masyarakat ya. Saya kira itu aja, terima kasih panitia atas kesempatan ini. Saya akhiri, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Okay, thank you so much for Professor Carnegie for your information. Okay, please be seated. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, those are the agendas we have presented to you this morning as we have finished our opening ceremony. Coming up to the last session, we are going to have a parallel session and Kongres Asosiasi Ilmuwan Administrasi Negara ASEAN. For the presenter, please be noted that our session will be start at 1 o'clock. After break and lunch, you can proceed to your presentation room. On behalf of all the committee members and the college, We would like to express our utmost gratitude to all the distinguished guests and participants of the second Open Society Conference 2019. Thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Okay, as the request for all the participants, kindly please to take a photo together on the stage. For all participants, also the committee, please come to the stage to take a photo together. All the participants.